Alright guys, Alyssa here, and I just got back from bike riding, so I thought I would come on and talk about cycling and knee arthritis. So I want to talk to you about 3 things today. Why you should be cycling if you have knee arthritis, what we can do to make cycling better for us if we have knee arthritis, and then what are some of the ultimate benefits of cycling. And so the first one, why you should be cycling when you have knee arthritis. This comes from the fact of range of motion. So when we have knee arthritis, we are primarily focused on maintaining range of motion, bending and straightening. And so sometimes when we have that stiffness, we have that pain, we do tend to start to lose a little bit of that extension and maybe even a little bit of that bend. So one thing that cycling does is you're going through those full revolutions, but it pushes you through the max range of motion. These shoes are very hard on the balance. It pushes you through that max range of motion. So when you are pedaling, you are going to that full bend and that full straightening. Which is why if you were to ever get on a stationary bike, a road bike, a mountain bike, whatever it may be, and you notice some stiffness at first, that is okay, because our muscles just need to get warmed up, and then you notice that it goes away because we're getting more blood flow. Those muscles are getting used to working at that full range of motion, and then with cycling we're just getting a lot of repetitions at that. And essentially it's telling our knees, okay, I can't actually move in this range of motion without pain, without any stiffness, etc. So it is great because a lot of times we don't really get that max ends ranges of motion challenged much throughout the day. So that max bending, we don't get in this position a lot unless you're like laying down and you bend your knees up or sit in certain positions. Same thing with extension, really pushing straight into extension, maybe for stair climbing and then for walking. But other than that, we don't really get a lot of repetition there either. And so cycling can be one way that you can really challenge that range of motion over and over and over again. So like I said, it can be a stationary bike, a road bike, a mountain bike. You can hop on one at the gym, anywhere you can find one, even if you just do 1 to 2 times a week. That will be beneficial to help your range of motion. If you're looking to add to a home gym, or you have access maybe to a friend's home gym, or like I said, you have one at the gym, then I would highly recommend trying it at least once a week to really maintain that range of motion. Now those sitting cycling machines, where you set it on the ground and then you just put your feet in, that does not do the same thing. Yes, it helps with blood flow, but you are not going through that full range of motion. So those aren't as beneficial as hopping on a stationary bike, hopping on an actual bike to really start to get your knee going. It doesn't have to be anything crazy. It could even be one of those cruiser bikes, just something that you can start to get moving. Now we can get these benefits elsewhere, and so if a bike isn't readily accessible for you or you're not going to the gym, that's okay. We can get these benefits elsewhere, but it's just one easy way that you can really start to get your knee moving. Second one is how we can make cycling a little bit easier on us, because one of the biggest complaints that I hear from clients is the fact that you have stiffness afterwards. So whether you go cycling, whatever it is, 10, 20, 30, 40 miles, then you come back, you either sit down or you may even decrease your activity for the rest of the day. Now, when you get back, those muscles, all of that blood flow, that lactic acid, everything kind of comes to a halt. So you're doing repetition, then it comes to a halt. And so those fluids and all of that stuff starts to collect, muscles start to tighten up, and then that leads to that stiffness. There are a couple things you can do after you get off your bike, and you can even do this in the beginning if you're having a hard time pushing through some of that stiffness, to really start to get those knees moving, and also at the end kind of flush all those things out so that way we're not left with a bunch of fluid in our knees. The first one being, so you want to focus on the leg that has the arthritis in the knee, or if it's both, then you'll focus on both. But the first one, just putting one leg out, and all you're doing is bending and straightening. So you're just bending and straightening. over and over. We're not pressing in, we're not putting a ton of pressure behind it. It's just a really light movement, and the movement I do want you to focus the most on is that extension part. So bending, you're just bending a little bit, but that extension is really what I want you to focus on. Now the second one is going to be more focused on bending. You can hang on to something if you need to, but you're just bending that knee up, bending that heel up just as high as you can. And then on both sides, if you notice that both are bothering you. And then the third one is a small supported squat. So you can actually do this, hanging on to your bike. You can also hang on to something other that's stable. But for this purpose, if you just hang on to your bike, you're going to do a mini squat where you sit back and stand up. Just a small one. You don't have to go all the way down, but you're pushing through your legs to really kind of flush out some of that lactic acid. So doing those 3 movements, anywhere from 5 to 10 repetitions, maybe you go through them once or twice, depending on the severity of your stiffness. That will help kind of flush out some of that. And then I would recommend at least trying to walk around a little bit, not trying to do anything crazy. We don't want overactivity, but to kind of walk around a little bit and see if we can continue to kind of flush some of that stuff out. Now, the third one is the benefits of cycling, which we kind of touched on in the beginning. So going through that full range of motion is one of them. Now the second one is that when you're cycling and when you're actually moving your legs, you're increasing blood flow. When we increase blood flow, we pull all of those inflammatory toxins and things out of our knee, and we're able to get rid of them and replace it with new blood. So it's just kind of this system that takes out the garbage and then brings new blood back in, brings you all the minerals that it needs. So that's especially great for your cartilage. The happier we can keep our cartilage, the less pain that we will have. And now another reason that this is great is because it's low impact and it's non-weight bearing. So it's not going to be as hard on your knees with all the repetitions, say if you were to run on a treadmill, or if you were even just walking is a repetitive weight-bearing activity. Now, I'm not saying walking is bad, but a lot of times it's a good way to kind of mix things up. I also recommend, if you're having a really hard time finding something that does not flare up your pain, you just feel like you're so flared up and everything you do hurts, cycling is a good thing to try. Because it's that non-weight bearing, that low impact, that a lot of times our joints really like it. But, I'm always a huge proponent of variety. So I don't want this to be the only thing that you do. So even just adding some exercises before or after, or cycling a couple times a week and then supplementing with just a couple of short workouts, that is another way that we can really focus on making sure that we're optimizing our knee strength and we're working all the muscles that we need to. So I do have an at-home knee osteoarthritis exercise program that would be great if you're just starting out or you're at a moderate fitness level and looking to mix things up or looking to really focus on building your leg strength for knee arthritis. And I'm going to put the link to that below. So that is one thing that if you're looking for some direction, giving you some exercises that are really going to help strengthen that knee is going to be important. So basically, I want you to look into attempting cycling if you haven't already, especially if you're having a hard time with finding exercises that are going to work for you. There's lots of benefits of cycling, and it's not necessarily going to further injure your knee or anything like that. It's a low impact, pretty non-repetition weight-bearing status, and so that's going to help manage pain and really help with that range of motion. And so adding in just those couple of tips that I mentioned will help you tremendously. Again, my name is Alyssa, and I'm with Keep the Adventure Alive, Physical Therapy and Performance. We're based here in Utah. Go ahead and click that red subscribe button below so that you're updated when I do release new videos. And if you did like this video, go ahead and hit that like button. Also put a comment below if you like cycling, if cycling has worked for you, if you even have had problems with cycling. Go ahead and put that below, because then it may help somebody else. So again, thanks for watching.